Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, and we're coming to the end really of our Lizardmen faction focus, just with the legendary characters to go. But in terms of the main basic roster, we're now in the rare category where we're looking at the 8th edition Lizardmen Army Book, seeing how the units played and seeing how they might play in Warhammer The Old World. So we've done the Lords, the Heroes, the Core, 2 parts of Special, and we're now going to take a look at the more rare units. So first one up is the Ancient Stegodon. Now this is the same kit as the Stegodon, and you can see here still available in Age of Sigmar, and you can see the different versions here. One picture there in the middle here, which is the Engine of the Gods version, and the one here which shows it with the giant blowpipes. So let's have a look at it. Stats wise, above average movement, strength, toughness and wounds, low weapon skill, initiative, leadership. It basically is a very similar unit card entry to that of the basic Stegodon, but with some different equipment really. Equipment wise, hand weapons, Lustrian javelins, and it comes with this time 2 giant blowpipes, which are 18-inch range. They're strength 3, 2d6 hits, poison. So that's not bad because there are 2 of those things. Maybe upgraded with the Engine of the Gods. This is an arcane configuration. All spells from 1 lore casting value reduced by 1. Burning Alignment bound spell as well, which is a power level 3. All enemy units within 4d6 inches take d6 strength 4 hits with flaming attacks. And then also Power of Warding, which is all units within 6 inches get a 6+ ward save. Wowza. You get the same options to upgrade with Unstoppable Stampede and Sharpened Horns we saw in the Stegodon, and it's the same with the unit size, which is the 1 monster and the 5 crew. So, special rules, again, are all the same with the Howdah crew, the immune to psychology, the impact hits, large target, and I still maintain that as an upgrade I'd be taking the Sharpened Horns, which is those impact hits gain multiple wounds D3 as the best choice. So this is my preferred Stegodon, of which I always took one with the Engine of the Gods, which I really like. That the giant blowpipes aren't bad. And they can generate quite a lot of hits, but they are only strength 3, and they do struggle against units with decent armor. Essentially this thing moving just behind the main line of infantry, providing support with its Engine of the Gods, and then engaging enemy units at the right time, ideally with that flank charge, getting those devastating hits. So you could pin a unit in place with your infantry, and then get this thing charging into the side, and watch those impact hits with D3 multiple wounds do some damage before this thing even kicks off. So yeah, I really like the Stegodon. It's an iconic Lizardman unit, and the Engine of the Gods really just boosting it to be, for me, something that I always took at least one Stegodon with Engine of the Gods. It just suited how I ran my army. Next up, though, we've got the Salamander Hunting Pack. Now, this is kind of like the Lizardman's Artillery, for want of a better term, though it's not got a huge range. You can see the original unit there in the centre, not the best looking in my opinion, and then you can see the new one in Age of Sigmar. It's now called the Spawn of Kotek, but it essentially is the same thing. It's a salamander. You can see the actual salamander itself is much bigger as a miniature, so do take that into consideration, but I think this is a really nice redo of the model. So above average movement, ballistic skill, strength and wounds, low attacks and leadership. Equipment is a hand weapon, and the unit size is 1 pack contains a salamander and 3 skink handlers, and you could obviously increase the number of packs you have. Now, scaly skin 5+, cold-blooded, aquatic, all the usual stuff you get with skinks, skirmishers, fear, but a hunting pack, which basically means you follow the same rules for monsters and handlers, even though these are counted as monstrous beasts, and they spout flames. This is their main attack. So it's a fire thrower with move and shoot. If you misfire, you do no shots, and D3 handlers die, and it's strength 4, flaming attacks, and slow to fire. So many people seem to like this unit, and I can see why with the sort of the fire thrower template and stuff like that. But Personally, I rarely used it. I prefer to spend my points on monsters, and in the rare category, that's an Ancient Stegodon and a Troglodon. If I was going to take this, I'd definitely be thinking about taking 3 packs, but that is 240 points, right? So that's a significant investment, and I'll be having a Stegodon for that. Thank you very much. It does give the army some ranged. I mean, look, Lizardmen, they don't have ranged outside of magic, right? And these bound spells, everything else is a relatively low range. If you are taking a Stegodon, you've got the Bolt Thrower. If you're taking the Ancient Stegodon, you've got an 18-inch giant blowpipes, but that's really it. So this is just really helping with those ranged attacks. I didn't really feel like I needed it when I was taking the monsters and having the magic. So not really a good choice for me. I'm hoping this will see a bit more of a rules refresh to make it something that you really want to consider including. I would say I really like the new model, if nothing else. We'll wait and see what happens in the Old World, but in terms of 8th edition, for me, I'll be taking a Stegodon and a Troglodon, and this one sit on the sidelines, though there were plenty of people that seemed to like it, so obviously worked for them. Next up is the Razordon. This is essentially the flip side to the Salamander. Again, old model, and there is no Age of Sigmar version of this one. Above average movement, ballistic skill, strength and wounds, low attacks, leadership, equipment's a hand weapon, and it's the same principle in terms of packs, each pack being 1 Razordon and 3 Skink handlers. All the same special rules we've just seen, except these guys come with instinctive defense, which means if they get charged, they must stand and shoot, though they can re-roll the artillery dice for number of shots fired. Quite nice. Basically, it's a cannon with grape shot, 18-inch range, so not the best range. Strength 4, quick to fire. Misfire is the same with no shots and D3 handlers die. Overall, 15 points cheaper than Salamanders. I never saw these guys on tabletop in my local area. Maybe other people did. I certainly didn't see them around. Just kind of an odd feel to the unit. Monstrous beasts. They can kind of fight and they combat a bit. So you're not just going to have like a unit of wolves charging them and getting away with it. And they can shoot, but doesn't have like excellent range. It's kind of a bit of a hybrid unit. With the, they sacrifice the range. It's a cannon with grape shot with low range, but they can fight a little bit too. If I was picking a unit like this, I'd pick the Salamanders every time. They basically have the same stats. I just think their shooting's better. So it's probably why these guys have never seen on the tabletop, personally. And there's certainly no Age of Sigmar model for these guys. So we'll see how the rules pan out. If these guys are even in the new army roster, we'll see. But not something that I was seeing at all. Next up is one of my favourite looking units in the Lizardmen roster. Clearly it's based on a Spinosaurus as its inspiration. But I love it, and you can see it there on the right-hand side, and still available today in the Age of Sigmar Seraphon range. So average stats though: movement, strength, toughness and wounds, low weapon skill, initiative and leadership. Equipment though, hand weapon and a Lustrian javelin. However, the skink could take a divining rod, and which could basically channel power and dispel dice, just like a wizard. Unit size is 1 Troglodon and 1 Skink Oracle Rider. So it has Aquatic, Arcane Vassal, which is the Skink, so that means you can the mate Slan can cast spells through him. Beast Rider, so it's treated as a single model, and all hits use the Troglodon toughness, but it uses its stats for attacking. This is interesting because this is what we're seeing from what I can see so far. All of the sort of cavalry and monster riding units in Warhammer The Old World from the rules we've seen so far. So this was doing that back then with the Beast Rider rule, which is quite interesting. Cold-blooded, large targets and no cover. The Troglodon has poison attacks and predatory fighter. He has Primeval Roar, which is once per battle at the start of the close combat phase. All friendly units in 12 inches that have predatory fighter gain an additional attack on 5 or 6 instead of just 6. That's cool, right? That's really good. And it's only once per battle, but if you can imagine turn 3, you've got 2 or 3 Saurus units engaged. You've got this thing right up behind them. It does that roar just as they're about to attack, and suddenly, you know, they're getting all these extra attacks. That could be really, really good. Scaly Skin 4+, so not the most durable thing out there, but it can also spit venom. So keeping it just behind the line, quite useful. Charging it in only when needed. It's got an 18-inch shooting attack, strength 5, multiple wound D3, and quick to fire. Causes terror. I always took one of these in my army list. I love the look of the model, but I actually think it was decent as well. It was pretty decent in close combat. Got that shooting attack as well, the predatory fighter buff, the skink oracle giving those extra power and dispel dice. You know, it's only 200 points and a flexible unit. Comes as a dual kit with the Carnosaur. Looks great, and to be honest, if you build it as a Troglodyte, that is a way of getting the Scar Veteran or the old blood on foot as well. So we talked about the issue of trying to get hold of Scar Vets. Build yourself a Troglodyte, get yourself a Scar Vet on foot with it. So something to bear in mind. There you go. That's it for the main Lizardmen roster, right? We've covered all of the main generic units. There are 2 episodes left. We are covering the legendary Lords and Heroes, as always, for the sake of completeness. While I think in the Lizardmen there will be a number of those units that technically are still alive. Maybe we'll see rules for them, maybe we won't, but we are going to do that for completeness. But this is the main unit roster complete. I hope you've enjoyed the series so far. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments down below. And hit that subscribe button. It's a big deal for me, so thank you for that in advance. You've been watching The Ghost Style. Tune back in as we start to look at those Lizardmen Legendary Lords.